One was charged with excessive aggravated assault in possession of a loaded, prohibited, concealed firearm.
Hi, and welcome to Ladies of the Paranormal World. Drusilla is missing. You are here with your hosts, Dark Angel, Wendigo, and Skinwalker, the never talking eye candy, and Drusilla. This is going to be a thing because they don't talk. But so we're here today with our special guest, Sean. Sean, why don't you start off with just kind of giving us a little bit of where you're from and a little bit about yourself. What got you into the field?
I currently live in Southern California in the Los Angeles County area. I got into the paranormal kind of gradually. I've always been interested since I was a kid, probably a teenager. I've always been interested in the unknown and the paranormal. And I had a few incidences when I was a teenager that kind of propelled me into it even more. So, and then more experiences as an adult, which got me even more interested. And then once the whole thing with paranormal shows like Ghost Hunters and Ghost Adventures, that just sealed the deal for me.
I love Ghost Adventures. It's one of my favorite references. I don't know if you
Yeah.
noticed, but you said you watch my show, so I tend to refer to Zach and his mishaps quite a bit.
And living in Las Vegas, I've actually met Zach a couple times.
I'm jealous.
I ran into him at a UFC fight, and then I also ran into him when he was filming at his museum.
Oh, really?
Which was cool.
I'm super jealous right now because we've actually been trying to get him on the show.
Oh, yeah.
We have. I've reached out to all of the show cast members and no luck. But that's okay.
I've tried to get him just to join the Facebook group.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you, what was your very, very first true experience, the one that kind of gripped you?
My first experience that I recall as a paranormal experience, I was about 13, and I had come home from school, and my best friend, on his way home from school, he passes by my place. So I got home, then he went home, which is like 2 minutes away. And not even 5 minutes after I'm home, he calls me and tells me that I need to come over to his house right away. And I lived like a block away, so I said, what's going on? And he says, you need to come over right away. And I said, okay. So I rush over to his place, and when I get there, he's standing outside his house, looking up at his bedroom window, and his bedroom window was on the second floor. We lived in military housing in Northern California, and I said, "What's going on?" He says, "Dude," he goes, I was about to walk upstairs, and I heard a noise in my bedroom, and I ran downstairs and came outside, and I said, "Was it your cat?" And he says, "No." And he points to the car in the parking lot right outside his place, and his cat is underneath the car, just sitting there.
Oh.
And I said, okay. I said, is it your brother? He goes, no. He goes, nobody's home yet, just me. So we both go inside. We start to go up the stairs, and there's you go up, and then there's a landing, and then another set of stairs. And his bedroom was directly across from the stairway. So as we get to the landing, we peek around, and I yell, hello? And we hear his Legos start to move around all over his floor, like someone looking for a piece, like just moving some pieces around. And of course, us being 13, we ran downstairs, ran outside screaming. And we get outside, we're laughing, kind of like scared, but laughing at the same time. And I said, okay, let's try this again. We go back up, get to the landing, we peek around, and I yell hello, and we hear the Legos moving again. So this happens like 2 or 3 times. We finally get the courage to go all the way up to his bedroom. And when we walk into his room, I see Legos scattered all over his floor. And to me, it wasn't unusual. I said, "Oh, everything looks normal." He said, "No." He goes, "You don't understand. My mom wouldn't let me leave for school until I cleaned those up and put them in the box this morning."
Oh gosh.
So after him telling me that, we both left and went to my place.
Wow. That sounds like I probably would have turned tail and ran. um, it's funny. I say that even though I'm obsessed with the paranormal, and probably in that situation, I probably wouldn't run. I'd probably be a little more on the intrigued side of things because I've had my own experiences. And you said you watch my shows, so I'm sure you probably know some of them. But the the tendency for me when I was having these experiences then was to freeze up, not to run. So,
Yeah,
I think
that's
it's kind of
understandable. That's understandable. The unknown can be pretty scary. So
it can, and when you're young, especially because you can't explain it and you don't really have the words or the knowledge to explain it.
yeah,
So, I can definitely see me maybe more freezing up in that particular instance, but
yeah.
So, have you ever come into contact? Now, I know you're familiar with my question, so we're just going to get right to the chase. Um, what is your most memorable experience besides your first experience? What's your most memorable experience and why?
My most memorable experience is actually uh, 3 experiences, and it all took place in an office that I worked at an RV dealership in Las Vegas.
Oh,
Um, I worked in the warranty office, which was upstairs. And just to give you a little back history, this entire area, and it's just at the very, very southern point of Las Vegas. As you're coming in from California, you come up over the hill and you start to see all the lights of Las Vegas. This area, this RV dealership I worked at, was at the most southern point of Las Vegas. And there's actually a couple locations in that area that I've worked at also had paranormal experiences at. So, or I've heard people that have had paranormal experiences. So there's some theory that that entire area is possibly haunted, possibly Indian burial grounds. Not everybody knows for sure. Um, my personal experience that I had in the warranty office, it was quite funny because my first when I transferred from the service department to the warranty department, on my very first day, I was walking into the warranty department, and as I opened the door, I see the manager sitting at his desk with his mouth wide open, and the 2 girls that worked there at the time standing above his desk or in front of him with their mouths wide open, and all the stuff that was on a shelf on the top of his desk was on the floor. And I walked in, and he turned to me and he said, "You just missed it." And I said, "What?" And he goes, "We were arguing, kind of jokingly, and everything on my shelf just went all the way to the end and fell to the floor.
oh,
Like
oh,
someone took their
poltergeist
hand,
activity.
exactly, like someone took their hand and just pushed it all off the shelf. And I walked in right after it happened. And that was the first incident in that office. The most memorable one, and this will really blow your mind. Um, the office is a big square office, and my desk was in a corner, and there was this wide open space in the middle of the room. When you needed to walk to the file cabinets, I walked diagonally across the room. And one day I had a stack of files in my hand, and I was going to go put them away. And I get halfway across the room, and I literally got to the middle of the room, and I heard what sounded to me like a child's footsteps, barefoot, running away from me. Like they were
Oh,
standing in the middle of the room, and when I got to them, they ran away.
oh
I
wow.
could clearly hear the
The
sound of their
blue
bare
little pitter
feet.
patter.
Yeah, the bare feet running on the carpet away from me. And at first, I was like, did I hear what I think I heard?
Right. Like, did I imagine it, or am I
Yeah.
convincing myself that I'm hearing these things? Yeah.
So I went downstairs and looked at the ceiling to see if someone might have tapped on the ceiling with a stick. But between the first floor ceiling and the upstairs floor is 6 feet.
Oh wow. Yeah, that's a pretty long distance to. I mean,
Yeah,
you'd have to be pretty tall or have something rather long to be. And we're
yeah.
talking
And then I
rapid
discovered later
succession.
that the second floor was concrete. So you couldn't have tapped on the bottom and heard it from upstairs. So,
Yeah. No. There's no way. If it. Yeah. No.
yeah.
um. So I guess my next question is, if you could choose your most, not just most memorable, but your favorite experience, what would that be?
That would also be in that office.
That same
And
experience.
yeah, because that was that office had so
Not
many
me.
times there were experiences that just made me really, really think. So um, one time I walked into the office and I heard someone going through the files. And the way the file cabinets were set up is when you walked into the office, the backs of the file cabinets were facing you. So you had to walk around to the other side to see the drawers. And as I'm walking to my desk, I could hear the doors opening. I could hear paper rustling. And I jokingly yelled out, "Who's there?" Because people are always looking through files, and nobody answered me. So I sat down at my desk and started working. A few minutes later, I thought I should probably make sure that it's not just some random person going through files. So I
Right.
yelled out again in a joking way. I yelled out, "Who goes there?" And no one answered. I could just constantly hear the doors opening and closing and holders opening, papers rustling. And finally I said, I better check. I got up, walked to the end of the row of file cabinets, and peeked around the corner, and the sound stopped instantly as soon as I peeked around the corner. And there were no papers out, no drawers open, nothing, just perfectly clear. And then I started to think, was I just imagining the sound? I had no idea. And it just blew my mind. I couldn't sleep that night. I was thinking about it so much.
So Drusilla, what do you think? It looks like you
Mhm.
got a question there.
No, I just think it was a little funny, that she turned the corner and it was just like nothing.
Yeah, I really. But that entire time that I was working at that place, I also lived in a house that had paranormal activity. And the what's weird is my wife at the time, her and I didn't think about it being haunted until after we moved out. And after we moved out, we started thinking about all these experiences that we had in that house. And then we kind of looked at each other and went, I think that place was haunted, because um, we didn't think about it at the time. We just thought it was weird at the time, think all the things that happened, um, to a point where we actually might believe that we suspect. Let me put it that way, that I might have actually been possessed a couple times in that house. Because she said I got up in the middle of the night and tried to force myself on her, and I don't remember it. She said my face didn't look like me. I didn't look like myself. And after trying to force myself on her, she kind of pushed me away, and then I just laid down and went back to sleep.
So okay, that in itself is kind of an experience that I think would maybe even bother me some, especially not
It,
being able to
it
remember having done that.
yeah.
You know,
We
that's
thought
kind of
at
got
first
a
that I might
quirky.
have been like sleepwalking, or something like that. But the fact that told me later that my face didn't look like me. That's where it made me think again about possibly possession, but we don't know for sure. So
Okay. So now my next question, I was actually going to ask. Hold on, Drusilla, what's that?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
yeah.
Okay, now I can hear you, but for some reason I couldn't hear you. Huh.
But I was just gonna say a lot of the southern part of Nevada is big with the paranormal. You hear me? Can you hear me now?
You.
Yeah. I said that a lot of the southern part of Nevada has paranormal activity. A lot of it.
Hmm. Yeah.
There's even Nevada Silver Trail area. It's a big area there. And
Can y'all hear? I can't hear.
Keeps cutting in and out. There is a lot of places in southern Nevada that are paranormally active. Famously,
Yeah, I think that's what she was trying to say, but like, it's really hard to hear. Keeps like
uh,
cutting in and out.
She's putting headphones in her head to see if that works.
Okay, she's gonna put some headphones in so we can hear.
Yeah, but yeah, that's what she was trying to say.
yeah, one place that was made famous by Ghost Adventures was Goldfield Hotel.
You know, I really want to check that place out too someday.
Yeah,
Yeah.
as soon as we get everything settled down here, we're planning to go check that stuff out too, especially since we live here in Vegas now, since we moved from California.
Oh, nice, nice. Yeah, the team I was involved with in Vegas actually went there. At the time they went, I wasn't able to go, so I was a little bit
Disappointed.
disappointed.
Yeah. Well, I
can you
mean,
hear me now?
yes, now we
Oh,
can
much
hear you.
much better.
Much better.
Ah.
Much better. I was straining, going, maybe it's my volume. I'm turning my volume up. No, it's not working. Okay, so go ahead and say that again. Now that you've got your mic, I will probably be able to hear you much better.
Oh, I was saying that a lot of the southern part of Nevada is got a lot of paranormal activity. They have an area called the Nevada Silver Trails that's got like 16 to 17 like towns that are either like ghost towns or hauntings or UFOs and stuff like that. So
Oh, yeah.
there's a lot. I mean, you know your uncle. He works at Binion's, and
Yep.
their hotel is haunted.
Yep.
So
Yeah, see, nobody wants to talk to us from the hotel because they got to go through these hoops and bounds just to be able to do so, which really stinks because I would love to hear from some of their experiences.
Right.
Nobody wants to play ball.
yeah,
But okay,
they're like, we got to talk to marketing, and marketing probably won't
like,
say
how is
yes
it going to
because
benefit
how is it
them?
going to benefit them?
Yeah. Were you able to share the channel, by the way? I wasn't sure if I sent you the link.
I did share it on my personal Facebook page and also in the Facebook group
Okay,
as
perfect.
well. So
We do also do live Q&As. I don't know if they know that, but if they jump on and do watch the live, they're able to right alongside us. I don't know if you can see my message, but they can ask us
yeah,
questions live and
hopefully
have them
they do.
answered. So, okay. But my next question is going to be, have you ever walked into a space that you've gone into that was haunted that you could feel you were maybe not supposed to be there, or you felt an overwhelming sense of darkness or grief?
I have. I wouldn't say an overwhelming grief. There have been a couple places that I've walked into in my life, and I couldn't explain it at the time. But I've walked in and just felt like anxious or almost like dread. But I couldn't explain it at the time, and I'm honestly trying to think back to where those places were. But they were probably just little small places like a museum or a church or something.
Okay. Eye candy. Anything from the peanut gallery?
Not
So
bad.
you guys are in Nevada.
Yeah, we're in
Yes.
Nevada.
What part?
North Las Vegas,
Okay.
And
I
Boulder
lived,
Highway.
I lived in
But-
Henderson for 18 years.
Okay.
So.
I lived in we lived in Henderson. You guys were what, like six?
Seven.
So let's calculate. That's like 13 years ago.
Yeah. Okay.
We lived in Henderson for a little while, but we are now in North Las Vegas with Boulder.
The house that I lived in that had the paranormal activity was near Boulder Highway and racetrack.
Okay, I know what you're talking about.
See, it's nice
Yeah.
to have people that have been there on my team because they can be like, "Hey, I know exactly where that is."
Okay, here's the odd thing about that house that my ex-wife and I lived in. After we moved out of it and realized, you know what, we think that place was haunted. We were the first owners of that house. That entire street was built just a few years before we moved in, and our house was the house that we bought was actually a model home. One of the models that you got to walk in to view to do the little tour. We
Right,
lived in
back
the
in the
third house.
day, yeah.
Yeah, we lived in the third house from the end of the street, and it was the first three houses that were that you could tour to decide, you know, which model you wanted to live in. So when we bought the place, it already had wallpaper and everything. So
Okay, so well, since you guys were the first owners, is there a possibility that there was something on the land itself that happened prior to the development of that home?
that's
Most
what we're
likely.
expecting. Most likely, there probably was a property there that was maybe torn down. We're not sure, because one of the things that we noticed when we moved in was where our water heater was located in the garage. It was on a wooden block kind of stand above the ground, and on that wooden stand there was a spot about 2 inches across that looked like a blood stain. But I painted over it 3 or 4 times, and every time I painted over it, the blood stain or the stain, whatever it was, would come through the paint.
Huh.
Even after the 4 coats of paint, that stain always came back through.
Oh wow, that's odd.
That same
It's
corner,
almost
right above that water heater, one of my dogs would stare in that corner and just bark.
almost like that spot is tainted.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And did you ever do any research into the history or archives of the area?
I did not, and I wish I had, because now I don't live in Nevada anymore. But I wish I had, and I even thought about going back and asking the current person that lives there if they've
But
experienced
hey,
anything.
can I like research your spot?
Like, I don't want to freak you out, but have you experienced any paranormal activity?
Right. Or
Yeah.
excuse me, I don't want to freak you out, but can I see if that stain's still there?
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. I'm sure they probably would have looked at you like you were completely nuts.
Or they could have been like,
Or they
hey,
could have been
we
like,
tried to
yeah.
paint over that stain too, and it just keeps
Or,
coming back.
or here's one for you. What did you guys leave here when you left?
No, one of the experiences I had was we were waiting. My wife and I were waiting for her sister and her our brother-in-law to come to town. They were driving from Northern California, and they were getting there pretty late. So
I can't get
um, my wife was downstairs washing dishes, and I decided to go upstairs and take a nap. And I was laying on the bed, and I had the front door open, or the bedroom door open, and I was laying across the foot of the bed, just wanted to rest my eyes for a few minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And my eyes were closed, and I heard someone. I thought my wife walked in. I heard her walk around the bed, and then I felt the bed next to me depressed. So I thought she was laying next to me. And I had my head like this, and as I turned my head to say something to her, there was no one there. Um, so I literally thought that after she laid down, I dozed off, and then she got up and left again. So when I
Right.
went downstairs and asked her, "Did you come upstairs and lay on the bed?" She said, "No." And I said, "Oh, okay. I must have dreamt it then." That was my first reaction. I didn't automatically assume it was a ghost. But looking back on it, both my wife and I looked back on it after we moved out and said, "Wow, you know what? That was one of the experiences that we were like, we were stupid. Our place was haunted, man. We didn't even realize."
You're
Right.
like, yeah, somebody came to lay with me.
Keep it with the
It's
ghosts.
haunted.
It's scary, man.
Yeah, I don't think I'd have been too keen on not knowing what was laying in my bed with me, let alone who.
Right?
Um, okay, so have you had any experiences with demonic attachments or hitchhikers?
Um, I don't think I have personally, and not demonic. I've been told by psychic friends that I have a pretty bright aura,
Mm,
that I might possibly protect myself and not even realize it. That I kind of push away
that's a good
negative
thing to
energy.
have.
Yeah, I didn't even realize that. I had a psychic friend do a reading on me and um, told me that I was psychic, and I was like, okay. And then told me I was also an empath. And when I started researching empaths, that actually made a lot of sense looking back on things that have happened in my past.
Right, and I've actually had a few empaths on the show that have said the same thing. That it was
Yeah,
something that they weren't really familiar with or even aware of at the time. That
yeah,
they look back on it, made things make a little more sense uh, later on.
yeah. And that's the hard thing to explain to people, that especially that are skeptic.
Mm,
I've tried to explain, like I can sense people's emotions. I can sense when people aren't telling the truth,
yeah,
and the way an empath does it is they combine energy with that they're getting, and the feelings, the emotion, along with body language, vocal tones, all kinds of little cues, and they
yep,
don't even realize they're doing it, but they put it all together, and they can tell what the person's actually thinking or feeling, just by
right,
putting all this together and not even realizing that they're doing it. So
exactly,
Or
and
whether they're straight up bullshitting you.
yeah, exactly,
exactly.
exactly.
And it's funny because I'm a pretty good liar myself. So when someone's bullshitting me, I just kind of look at them like, oh, okay, like, and I
They're
don't
like,
give them any.
yeah, you're full of shit. Thanks.
Yeah, I don't give them any clue that I suspect they're lying. But I just Oh, yeah,
It's
you
funny
know.
because I have one of my favorite sayings is don't bullshit a bullshitter, honey.
I was just about to say that. He probably thinks that in his head.
Don't bullshit a bullshitter. If you're gonna try, make sure it's a good one.
Yeah,
You know. Okay, so nothing demonically has ever attached to you because you have such a bright aura, which is a great thing. Again, that's a great defense.
yeah.
What other defenses or protective actions when you do decide to go into a place that you know is haunted? In order to kind of just keep things at bay, because there are places like Alcatraz or you know asylums, hospitals notorious for having dark
Hmm.
entities and attachments. What's your method to
Um,
just keeping yourself safer?
the paranormal team I was involved with in Las Vegas, we actually had a team psychic, and they would do a protective energy bubble, and we'd also do a prayer at the beginning of each paranormal investigation. When I've done paranormal investigations on my own or just ghost hunting in general, I do a meditation and then imagine a protective white light around me just to kind of protect myself. Um, I've been very fortunate to not have anything attached to me or follow me. I, I would think I would be pretty much aware of it, and so far I've not had any issues. So.
That's great. Sorry, one of my other clients just messaged me. I've got like
Okay, I
I don't
have
know
a
about you guys,
question.
but go for it. Now give
Have
me a
you
minute to
ever
reply.
had something physically like happen to you, like being scratched or loved or
Um,
physically
I have
done
not
to
been
you?
I have not been scratched, but other than possibly being possessed or whatever, um, the, my ex-wife and I lived in that house that I was telling you about for approximately 3 years, and during the entire time that we lived there, her and I both had very trying to think of the right way to word this negative emotions. Um, we were we fought a lot. We were angry. I had very uh, bad mood swings, uh, and it seemed like that went away pretty much after we moved out of that house. So I'm pretty sure I was being affected by something in that place.
Yeah, that kind of sounds like it.
Sorry about that. I was making sure that they didn't think I was blowing them off. Uh, I don't know if you noticed, but when you messaged me, I generally try to be like right, boom, like that, so people don't think that oh my god, I'm just blowing them off, or I'm not like that. So I always go, I'm sorry, give me a second, just 1 second, I'm still listening though. Okay, so um, I have to ask the next question. Uh, for you, what would be your top? Let's go with five because I generally stick with five. What's your top five bucket lists you have to go and why? Why is that place or those places have to be
Um,
go?
being that I live in Southern California, there are two places off the top of my head that are on my bucket list for investigating. One of them is the Queen Mary, um, and the other is the oh, I just went blank. A hotel in Los Angeles.
Oh, I think I know what one you're talking about.
My
I
brain
just
just
can't
went.
think of the name.
Yeah, the Asian girl, Michelle Lum, I think her name was, disappeared, and then they found her body in the water tank on the roof.
Oh my god!
Um,
Oh, I know which one you're talking about. I saw that on the news.
yeah, and Ghost Adventures did an episode of that hotel,
Yes, they did. I
and
just can't think of the darn name of it.
I'm having a serious brain fart right now and can't think of the name of the place right now.
So am I, because we just moved from San Bernardino to
Oh, okay.
Vegas.
And then
So,
another place that I
Well,
want
we
to
do
do,
have
which
Google,
is
people. We do have Google.
yeah, in
Can't use
San
it.
Diego is the Whaley House that I want to visit.
The Whaley
Um,
House, I've heard, is pretty incredible to experience.
yeah, I was in Denver a few years ago, and we were going to go to the Stanley Hotel, and we were there in March, April, late March, early April, so it was still kind of wintry, and that the road leading up to the Stanley Hotel was still closed at the time, so I wasn't able to go visit the Stanley Hotel.
Oh no.
So
Okay, so that would be your number three,
the Stanley, so it was Queen Mary,
Queen Mary.
the
Okay,
hotel that I
number
can't
four.
think of the
So
name.
that's your number four. I can't count.
Yeah, the Whaley House,
Yep.
Stanley Hotel,
The
and then number five would be Waverly.
Waverly Hills.
Yeah,
You know, Waverly Hills seems to be on a lot of people's bucket list. I've heard it's a sanatorium. I mean, let's be honest.
yeah.
Sanatoriums, asylums, hospitals, um, old prisons, they all have like this immense amount of energy that go into them with the past that's attached to them. They tend to be really, really almost living, even though nobody's there anymore.
Oh yeah.
So I think Waverly is a awesome place. I might add that to my own bucket list. To be honest. So okay, have you ever had the chance or been asked to cleanse someone's home, or have you ever done residentials that have requested to be cleansed or asked for exorcisms to help make things better?
That's funny that you asked that because before I moved to this location, my place that I lived in before, one of my previous roommates was complaining about having a lot of bad luck. I would say, and he and I just sat there talking about it. And he just kept saying, "I can't seem to get away from this bad luck. Things keep happening, and you know." So I said, "Well, I said we could sage the house. I don't know if there's any negative energy. I don't sense any negative energy in the house. However, the roommate that was in the room that he was currently renting, the roommate before him, was a drug addict, and he actually had a stroke, and his friends had to move his stuff out because he was in a hospital, couldn't continue living there and paying rent. So um, I don't know if that left any kind of negative energy on the place. Um, who knows? My roommate at that time might have just been having bad luck. I don't know. But I did sage the house to try to help remove some negative energy. I saged him, uh, and he did claim shortly after that he started having better luck. So he ended up moving out because he injured his ankle and couldn't work and couldn't pay the rent. So he ended up moving out.
No.
But it seemed like everything after that seemed to work out better for him.
So maybe just moving out of the place in its entirety was probably for the best.
Could be. I don't know. Maybe it was that room.
It,
But then
yeah.
the roommate that moved into that room after him seemed to also be having not the best luck. So
Oh man.
she had a girl move in with her. They were having trouble getting along. One of them moved out. So it's almost like that room has a problem, but it's the only room in the house with the issue. So
So maybe it's attached. Maybe it's specifically attached to that
yeah,
space.
and I don't think it's a spirit. I think it could just be energy. I
That's very
um,
possible.
I suspect it's just energy, and I think it might have possibly been the roommate that I had that was doing drugs. Um, I think he, dragged in some bad energy with him. I think he just brought it in with him, and that
Right.
it just kind of stuck there.
That's very possible. And the energy is very powerful. People don't realize how strong energy truly is until uh sorry. Uh, people don't realize just how strong their energy is until they've impacted somebody else with that energy, whether it's negative
Oh, yeah.
energy based on your mood. People can feel your energy from across the room if they are observant enough to know whether you're in a good mood or a bad mood. So who's to say that that doesn't imprint on the surface and surfaces that you are in contact with?
Exactly.
So my next question is my
Hey,
favorite.
Eye Candy wanted to say something.
Oh, I Candy actually wants to talk. Go ahead.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, so my question is there like any certain places that you would never go?
Oh, that's a good
Place
question.
I would never go. That's a really good question. Because it would take a lot for me not to go, and the only thing that would cause me not to go would be actually confirmed demonic haunting, and that's hard to confirm, especially nowadays, because one of my biggest paranormal pet peeves is that any little bit of paranormal activity is automatically considered demonic nowadays, because people watch too much YouTube and shows and stuff like that, and they got their mindset that any paranormal activity is demonic, and it's not. It quite honestly could be some old man trying to get your attention by moving a glass across the counter, but people think a glass moving across the counter is a demonic possession, but it's not necessarily. So, but like the house where the Amityville story took place, the original. Are you familiar with that story? The,
Yes.
the Amityville horror.
Yes.
That
Hmm.
house, I might be a little bit cautious about going to. I'm a little bit cautious about going to Waverly because I've seen enough to know that there are some pretty dark spirits there. So I want to go to Waverly, but I'm cautious about it. So
Yeah, I think I'd be a little worried too.
yeah,
Some places that are just there's just the dark energy there. It's just like, do I really want to go?
yeah. I think if I went to Waverly, I'd want to have the right group with me. And what I mean by the right group is the right kind of energy.
Right.
If you have the right kind of energy with you, I think it could just lead to better things.
And
That's
I think a
good.
lot of like when a lot of people feel those kind of things is because of their energy. When
I
they
think
have
your
things like
lighting
that
behind you,
happen.
Drusilla, is making it to where your face looks blacked out.
My face is. Oh, wait, hold on. How's that?
I just thought I was talking to a shadow figure. But
It
There you
was
go.
my
That's much
hand.
better.
It
That's
was my
better.
hand. It was my hand.
Now I
Anyways.
can see your face clearly.
there you go.
But I think that has to do a lot with what happens to people in haunted places is the energy that they bring into the
I
place
have
when
to
they
agree with
get
that.
there.
I have to
Mhm.
agree with that. If you go into a place feeling like something's going to happen before it even happens, chances are it's going to.
Yeah,
And it may be that you're on edge so much that you're experiencing things that nobody else is experiencing, or you could be feeding that energy to whatever's there.
yeah. There are a lot of times when you'll have a group of investigators going to a place, and there's always that one person that always sees things, they're the same person
Hi,
always
Candy
hears things.
Frog. Good to see you, honey. And hello to
And
any of our other guests. I can see we've got some viewers going on here, and we are doing live Q and A's as always. Our guests don't mind answering some Q and A's along the way. All right. Sorry about that,
hello,
honey.
people. No problem. Yeah, I mean, there's always that one person that sees things, and no one else sees it, and I've even seen it on Ghost Adventures a couple times where
Oh
it's like
my, yeah.
everyone's investigating, and suddenly Zach feels something touch him, or he sees something in the corner, and no one else saw it.
Oh, I love watching when they hear things happen in the dark. It is hysterical watching them freak out. But I mean, you got to imagine being in the moment, though. How
Oh
would
yeah,
you react if
yeah.
all of a sudden something was thrown at you and you can't see what's doing it?
Well, the best one, they were in England, and I can't remember the name of the place they were investigating, but it was like a pub or something, and they were in England, and Jack
Oh
went to go lay
yeah,
down, and a ghost grabbed his ass.
yep, that was one of
it's
my
like
favorites.
it's like
he
really, did
jumped.
a ghost grab your ass, or did you just
He
think
jumped
one
about 3
did?
feet. He said a ghost grabbed his ass.
Absolutely. Um, I'm having a feeling this may actually go over what we normally do, and I'm okay with that because I'm having a great time actually talking to you.
Awesome.
My next question is my favorite question. I'm sure you know which one it's going to be. Ouija boards. Ouija boards. Have you ever had experiences with them, and what is your perspective when it comes to Ouija boards? And I'm sure you know what I'm going to say. I'm against them 100%. Go ahead.
I owned a Ouija board that I bought at Toys R Us
Oh
when I was a
no!
teenager. Me and my friend used it one time, and instead of the planchette that came with the game, we used a small glass, like an orange juice glass,
Hmm.
and we just had our fingers resting on the top, and that thing was moving around, and we were arguing with each other who's moving it and all this stuff, and eventually we just freaked out and stopped. Now, as far as my question about whether people should use them, I don't agree with using a Ouija board unless you properly know how to open and close a session. I don't even know how to properly open and close a session. I've read about it. I don't even want to try because I just think it's just too open.
It's too
Some
dangerous.
people think that using an Ovulus or a spirit box, an SP7 spirit box, is the same as using a Ouija
It's
board.
not though.
I don't think it is exactly because
It
it's
limits their openness to you.
yeah, the spirit is manipulating an electronic device rather than you opening
Your
a portal to
spiritual
let
and
them
mental.
communicate.
Yeah, I agree. Eerie Frogs says, have you ever been scared out of your mind?
Have I ever been scared out of my mind? Yes, and it wasn't paranormal.
I think we've all had days like that.
I I was in an airplane that dropped about 200 feet, and it hit an air pocket and dropped, and
Oh no.
that was being scared out of my. I don't like to fly, so
I'll never
um,
get on a plane. Don't feel bad. You're not the only one. I have never been on one, nor will I ever be on one. I believe this way. If God wanted me to fly, He'd have given me wings. Okay? People
well,
I
were
feel like
what
it would
bothers
only be me
what
and
bothers me is
Wendigo,
when
the
they
only
say,
person who would jump out of a plane just for the hell of it.
yeah, no.
Why would you jump out of a perfectly good flying
they,
machine?
your
Because it
uncle
looks
and
so
your
fun.
uncle and those two want to do that, and that's my whole thing. The plane is working; it's flying. Why am I
Why
going to
jump
jump
out
out of
of
it?
it?
Because it looks like
What
fun.
the thing that I hate is when I tell people I don't like to fly and they say, if it's your time to go, it's your time to go. And I'm like, well, what if it's
Well,
the pilot's time to go and not mine?
What if I'm caught in the crosshairs, man?
Yeah. What if it's the pilot's time to go? You're screwed.
I was gonna
Right?
say maybe that's why they have a co-pilot just in case.
Yeah.
That's the backup.
But yeah, I'm not a huge fan of flying. I don't like to fly.
No,
The ironic
I'm
thing
not
was
very
my
much.
ex-wife was a travel agent, so
Oh,
Oh wow!
I'm sorry. Okay. So yeah, again with Ouija boards, if you don't know how to properly use it, I would honestly,
yeah.
I'd stay away from them.
Yeah, but see, the
I've just
funny
heard
thing
so many
is,
stories. What's that?
that it was a game when I
Originally,
Yeah.
was young. You pick it up at Toys R Us or Kmart, or
yep.
it was a toy. Like they made it like a toy for us, a board
Yeah.
game kind of toy. and that's scary, and us being young, we're like, oh, okay, let's do that. That sounds cool. It's almost like the lawn dart things, I don't know, the big lawn darts that you used to throw up in the air and
Exactly.
see who could like stay in the circle longer before the thing came down and hit somebody. And then
And then
what,
when you you ended up communicating with your friends on a Ouija board.
right? But it's like my generation did all kinds of crazy stuff, so why would they make a board game type toy that has to do with the spiritual realm, because we just kind of did things just to do things, and there wasn't any kind of like, oh, this is really bad and your parents can get in trouble because you did something stupid.
Yeah.
It was, oh, you did something stupid, are you gonna do it again? But nowadays it's like one of your kids does something stupid and everybody's like, oh my god, what a horrible parent you are.
Wow. Yeah, no. Okay, so my next question, because one of them had actually already asked, where would you never go? Is there more than one place that you would never go, and if so, why?
There's probably quite a few. One of them I would definitely not go, and the reason why is because I absolutely hate dolls, and that's that little island in Mexico that Ghost Adventures went to with the doll island. I would never go there because I hate dolls.
Welcome to the hate
I'm
balls as
curious
well.
about it. But no, I wouldn't go
No,
and
honestly, for me, pictures are good enough. I ain't going.
Yeah,
Right.
Wendigo and Skinwalker hate dolls, like they hate them.
I made the big
Yeah.
episode on that island last month, I think it was.
Almost step foot on it, but if I hear one strange noise, I will not head right, and I will leave all y'all behind.
Well, I can't remember if what show I was watching, because there's been multiple shows that have been to that island, and there was one show I watched where one of the dolls literally opened its eyes.
Oh, no. Oh.
Eyes closed the entire time. And when the guy was talking to it or looking at it, it opened its eyes, and I just said, "Nope, I'm done."
You're like, I'm watching this episode.
Yep.
Well,
and I don't get scared easy, but that I was like, nope.
It's so bad
no,
with.
thank you on that one. Well, and when Zach and Ghost Adventures did that episode, the fire lit up by itself. I don't know if you remember that, but there was no fire when he originally got there. But the moment he stepped out of the boat onto the land, it like lit itself.
Yeah, it might have been one of them that saw that the eyes open on that doll, but also
I know one of the dolls started crying.
Yeah.
And they took Robert the doll to that island.
Yeah, I remember that too. Yeah.
Yeah, that was crazy. I'm good on that one.
Nope.
Hey, Marina.
I was gonna say something.
Angel, sorry to bother. 5%, so we'll still be on, but it might die.
Okay.
Yeah, but see,
I'm kidding.
Wendigo and Skinwalker are they so hate dolls, okay? That they won't even go on It's a Small World at Disneyland. Because the whole thing has dolls, the whole ride is dolls.
I will bake in the sun like a potato. Okay, I'd rather get sunburned
Then go on there.
Yeah, because
it is. I'd rather stand outside.
Because when we had gone and they did it the first time, it was really, really hot. And so our friends suggested going on It's a Small World because you get to sit and it blows air inside the
Yeah.
thing. So you'll cool down. After they got out of there, they're like, no, we're never going back in there. We will burn to death before that.
Turned out to
Yeah,
be
I'm like,
scarier
I
than the
told my
haunted
sister
mansion.
because she's like, Sean, you should go on small world. I'm like, nope, I ain't going in there. If you go there, I ain't going in. I will only.
Yep.
I told her I will only go on if she goes on one of the rides she hates the most. That is the only time I will ever step foot in there. That's the only reason why I would have done it. And I told her that. I was like,
I just won't go on Into Small World because it's boring. But
No, they're all about the dolls. That's how
yeah,
bad
no,
they don't like them.
You're creeped
But
out by them.
yes,
suck.
but
My next
also
question.
they won't. We watch Dead Files,
Love that
and
show.
they won't watch the one where the lady has like the 2,000 dolls in her house.
Oh, no, who has so many dolls?
Who has that many dolls? Have you seen? No. Go to Zach's museum. He's got an entire room dedicated to them.
I'm
I
gonna
won't
drag
say-
them there.
They're all haunted.
No, you're not.
I'm gonna drag them there. It's gonna
You're not
happen.
gonna catch me.
They're being forced to go in that
Yeah.
room.
I ain't stepping foot in that room.
One of those,
Good luck
the thing
trying to
about
get me to
those
do it.
dolls, I don't mind. Okay, doll island and all. I don't mind. What bothers me about Zach's particular doll room is every single one of them is either demonically possessed or
no, I'm good.
he's like, that's the room I'm gonna skip.
No, I'm good. I won't do that either.
I mean, he's got his own series called My Deadliest Possessions for a reason. Because he has Peggy the doll, which,
Right.
by the way, scary ass doll. But
Let me tell you, when I was a kid, I remember I was about 3 or 4 years old, and I even actually still have photographs. I don't know if my parents that got this or one of my aunts and uncles bought it for us, but it was just me and my brother. But for some reason, someone gave us a 3 foot tall doll.
Oh,
For $2.
hell no.
And
Was
that thing,
it a My Buddy?
no, this is even long before my buddy. I was born in 71,
Okay.
1971. So this is
Well, I was
before that.
82, so yeah.
And this is one of the, it was also one of those dolls that when you lay it down, the eyes close, and when you sit it up, the eyes open. And this was 3 feet tall. I had nightmares about this doll until I was about 4 or 5 years old. So
And your mom and dad didn't let you throw the doll away?
they eventually got rid of it at some point.
Scary Frog says spooky.
You're like,
Yeah, no, I hated that thing.
put it in the garage sale if they have one.
Yeah, I was
There you
that
go.
mean cousin. We have cousins that we used to live with once upon a time, and they had this really big doll that kind of looked like Chucky the doll. So, and my auntie remembers this, and so does my uncle. When we lived there, I would take the doll and purposely set it up like it had gotten up and walked away or whatever on top
She's
of the
so horrible.
dresser. And every time my cousin would walk in, she'd freak out because it would be sitting there.
Right, because the last time she knew it was in this place, and she didn't know that Dark Angel had moved it. So yeah, she would freak out about it because the doll was there and now it's there.
And I only did it with the one doll, and it was like one of those life-size dolls.
Oh god. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm such a jerk. But yeah. So my next question is going to be, when it comes to, since we've kind of touched on it a little bit, haunted possessions. Have you ever come in contact with, seen, or used haunted possessions as trigger objects?
Used it as a trigger object. No, I can't say I have. I do often wonder though if there was something at that house that I owned, maybe even buried in the ground. That might have been a haunted object. I don't know, but I've never. I can't say that I have. I don't think I have.
Would you use haunted objects as trigger objects?
That would depend on the object.
Okay.
As
Well,
long as it's not a
let's
doll.
talk about just trigger objects. Not a lot of people understand why people use trigger objects. Why do we
Yeah.
use them?
Trigger objects I would actually like to use. I've actually wanted to try a theory where uh, you go into a place that's historical, and each of the investigators are dressed in period clothing, and actually do the investigation in period clothing.
Mhm.
It's just a theory of mine, thinking that that might help um, boost paranormal activity. I've never had a chance to try it, but I would love to,
All
and I think
right.
that in itself would be a trigger object, would be the costume. So
I have to agree. Just being able to see something that they're familiar with, maybe from that time period, to really boost that energy or bring that
yeah,
energy
yeah.
to light. I am a big fan of trigger objects personally. Now, my last and final question, and then we can goof off a little bit with some Q&A. Uh, what? I just lost my question, doggone it. I just had it too. We were just talking about it. Uh, what is your favorite piece? See, I took a second. What is your favorite piece of equipment to use? There's a whole bunch that we as paranormal investigators use, from REM pods to SLS to you name it, we use it. So, what would be your favorite piece of equipment, and why is that piece of equipment your personal favorite?
Now, is the question one that I actually use, or one that I would like to use? I mean,
One that you have used.
one that I have used. Um, that would be the spirit box. Well, let me. I had two. There's two of them. Spirit box is probably my favorite. I love using the spirit box. Um, I have used it just randomly in places. Sometimes I'll bring it with me, and if I feel something, I'll just turn it on and just sit someplace and try to ask a few questions. I haven't had much results with that yet. My other favorite one to use is I have a thermal imaging camera, the FLIR thermal imaging camera that attaches to my phone, and that one's a lot of fun to use.
All right, now I'm going to ask, since you said, that whether or not you would want to use it. What is your favorite piece of equipment that you want to use?
Definitely, I would like to get my hands on the SLS camera.
Okay. Well, now why the SLS? Because I know a lot of people that they like their spirit boxes more than things like that. Why the SLS?
I've seen some pretty amazing results with the SLS. I have an app on my phone that kind of simulates the SLS camera, and I've tested it out a few times, just pointing it at people, and it does pick up their image pretty well.
Ghost Tube, I think, is the one I've used that does that.
Exactly, the Ghost Tube SLS. But
I don't like the phone app spirit boxes, but if I had to say for SLS, if you don't want to spend thousands of dollars on one, Ghost Tube's a good one. I like that.
Ghost Tube is a good one. Their voice box is okay. I've not had a lot of results with that, but I've seen videos where they're getting pretty
Thank you, Eerie
responsive.
Frog.
They're getting pretty good responses with it, and oh, that just freaked me out. My Google. We're talking about spirit boxes, and my Google Hub just started talking just now.
triggered some activity.
All of a sudden, I heard this woman's voice in the other room, and I'm like, "What the?" I was just a notification, a calendar notification, but it's
Yeah,
startled
but I
me
mean,
pretty
we're talking about paranormal stuff, so my first reaction would be like, who the hell's talking?
good. Right?
Okay, let's try that again. Why the SLS besides the ghost tube? Now that we know that's one that you use, why that one?
To get my hand on an actual SLS setup, I like the what it's designed to do, and I believe in what it's designed to do. A lot of people think it's not real. I believe in it 100% because you're using infrared lasers to
Right.
pick up what your eye can't see, and I've seen some pretty amazing results. Stuff that you can't explain, and it just, to me, I think it would just be
Right,
so
because
cool.
SLS is used to basically map a skeletal structure. Well, how the heck is it mapping a skeletal structure that's not there?
Exactly.
You know, that's a really hard piece of equipment to manipulate.
Yeah, and have you seen the challenge? I've seen it on YouTube and on TikTok where people will drive their Tesla at night through a graveyard
No, I haven't, but now I'm curious.
because the Tesla uses LiDAR, which is the same as the SLS camera. And I've seen videos where people are driving in on the main road through a cemetery, and it'll pick up images of people, and there's no one there. But like someone will be recording video, and you see on the screen on the front of the Tesla a stick figure, but then when they point it up through the windshield, there's nobody there. So you can use the Tesla as a ghost hunting piece of equipment.
I was gonna say, I don't know how I'd feel about that. You go through a
Right?
graveyard, you kind of want to, no offense to anybody that's lost anybody, okay? But once they're in the grave, I'd like them to stay there. I don't want to see them.
Yeah, but now you got to think about it, okay? Since the Tesla can do that, if you're just down this random road,
Right?
Yeah.
you could see something, and be like,
I'd be like, okay, you turn now.
Right? I'm gonna jump up out this bitch right now. Bye-bye.
Yeah,
No, I
Erie
had
Frog has
not.
heard of that Tesla
So
theory.
Erie Frog says that he's heard the Tesla theory as well. So I guess I must be the only one in the dark here because I didn't even know that was a thing.
I didn't either, but like I said, think about it. If you're driving and stuff and it can do that, like, would you freak out on the road if all of a sudden, like right in front of you, there
I
was
would. I'd be like, back up. Good night.
Imagine if you're doing the autopilot thing and your car just suddenly stops because it thinks there's a pedestrian there.
right?
Dude, I don't know. That would be a problem. Be like, your car won't drive. You're late to work.
Yeah.
Why am I late to work? My Tesla saw someone on the road. Okay. Well, okay. Why are you late to work? No, seriously, my fucking car wouldn't move. It kept telling me there was someone there. There was nothing there. I don't know what to tell you. Please don't write me up for this.
See, that's when before like all the freaky, like you really get freaked out, you would turn that auto part off and turn your butt around and go, because it does that. It stops, like it stops for pedestrians if you have like a certain gauge on or something, from what I hear.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'd be turning that thing off real quick and turning around and find a new road.
Right?
You know what? I just realized that one of my very first paranormal experiences was actually an accidental EVP that I
Oh,
caught.
okay. I'd love to hear
And
that.
I was playing around with a recorder. My parents had this boombox that had the dual cassettes. And what I was
I
doing was
remember
I was
that.
recording from cassette to cassette. I would record my voice reading something, and then I would switch cassettes. And while I was playing the first cassette of me reading, I would read the same thing in a different voice so that the voices would overlap.
Hmm.
And so I wanted it literally to sound demonic. And so I basically had like three voices overlapping the exact same words. And when I got to do the fourth voice, I put the cassette over and I hit play and I got my microphone ready and I started to talk. And then I heard a different voice come through in another language.
Oh, what?
And again, I was only about 13 at the time, but as soon as I heard that second voice, I stopped the tape, put down the mic, got out of my room, and ran downstairs. It freaked me out. It freaked me out, and I can still hear that voice in my head, and that was like 30 something years ago. So, but I can still
Yeah.
hear it in my head.
Yeah,
And it
that'd
was,
be a little creepy.
yeah. And the funny thing is, I'm half Filipino, and that voice that came through, I didn't understand it, but it sounded like it was speaking Tagalog. It sounded like a Filipino accent.
Oh, okay.
But it blew
Okay.
my mind because I didn't know about EVPs until years later.
Way later. Yeah,
So,
that would have probably freaked me out pretty good. I don't know. I probably would have been like, you can have the boombox, you can have the microphone, you can have that shit back. Never want it. I don't know
yeah,
what you gave me. This is mine. It should
this is
just have
back in 1986, 85, 86. So this is before internet and stuff like that. And I hear this voice come through. I had never heard about EVPs
hmm
before that. Um,
Right.
but shortly after, I started getting into paranormal, and I read books about it. And eventually, you come across the word EVP, but it
Right.
didn't hit me until years later that, oh my God, I recorded an EVP and didn't even realize it. So
Yeah, that's kind of scary. And, that's how they used to do EVPs once upon a time. Go ahead,
yeah,
Wendigo. You were making
He's
hand motions like you were trying to talk.
You taking off my hands. I was going like this.
Oh, I thought you were trying to get our attention.
no, they're just being eye candy again.
I see that. Hey, look.
Well, at least I look good.
It's a privilege to be eye candy, okay? Have you seen some of these wrestlers? Let's be honest,
no,
they didn't get that body for free.
no,
Um,
I didn't get
but
this
You,
body
but
for free. A lot of pizza and beer went into this. So.
but I'm telling you right now, you told them that they're eye candy, so like their ego is like way up here.
Yes.
Hey, whoa, wait a minute.
Mine is way the fuck up.
Easy.
No, it's way the fuck down here. I'm used to people saying, "You're ugly, bro." And now the eye candy, it's way the fuck up here.
you kind of look like Curly from the Three Stooges. It's only temporary. He's planning on fixing his hair.
All right.
He's trying to grow it out, is what he's trying to do. So
Yeah.
he has a fro on a daily basis.
That's
He's
what
been
I'm
wanting
doing.
to go
I
straight.
shaved my head for 20 years, and now I'm growing it out. So.
It's funny. We do that, and then we go to try to grow it out, and it doesn't happen the way we
Yeah,
thought it would.
That's because you never.
Yeah, your uncle, he gave up on trying to grow hair.
That's because he's old.
Yeah, have you seen that little shiner?
It's a lot thinner than I remember. So
Straight to his bald spot.
Hey, I called him Curly from the Three Stooges. Oh, gotta get it somewhere. um, but you know, it's crazy because you go out there and there's a lot of new challenges these days. Now, don't be one of these people that are, you know, eating Tide Pods, snorting condoms, and licking ice cream and putting them back on the shelves type of stupid. Okay? I'm waiting for someone to take the warning labels off of everything and just let that collection sort it out.
Exactly.
But there are other challenges in the paranormal community that are actually really quite interesting. And the one that I've heard about is Randonautica. It's this app that you download onto your phone that supposedly takes you just random places, hence Randonautica, where crime scenes may have even occurred and can also show you paranormal hotspots you may not have even known have existed. Now, judging by the look on your face, you've never heard of Randonautica.
I've never heard of that. It sounds interesting.
So,
Yeah, never.
here's
I
my
have.
challenge to my viewers. Download Randonautica. See where it takes you. Video it. If you video it, send me the video. I will share it on my show.
Yeah.
Because I
I'm gonna
think
have to
it would
check
be
that
really
out now.
interesting to see what kind of hotspots paranormally it may bring you to.
Oh,
I thought you were gonna say it was like an interactive kind of, like it take you through the stuff. I was gonna say, hopefully it's not in 3D because Skinwalker gets a hold of that and he'll fall off of stuff.
I remembered the name of that hotel,
Oh, what was it?
the Cecil Hotel.
Huh?
The Cecil, the one in
Oh,
Los
that's
Angeles.
right. I want to go to the
It's,
Gofield Hotel.
yeah, but the one here in Los Angeles called the Cecil Hotel.
Cecil Hotel. I'm gonna have to look up the episode for that because I remember it. And I don't remember when I watched. I think I watched it when
Don't
it
give me
first came out,
dirty
but it's been like
looks.
forever since I watched that one.
They actually did a 2-hour episode special investigation of that hotel.
Was it the Halloween special?
I don't remember. I think it's actually a special just called Cecil Hotel. If you look
Oh,
it up,
okay.
I could be wrong, but I think they did a special episode not related to the show, but
I think you're right. I think that's what I watched last year. I think that was last year.
Put your leg down.
I want to say, yeah, because it was during the time when they were also doing the screening room.
okay.
I think that was like the first year or halfway through the first year of COVID. You know what? Now I got to look it up. Hold on. Ghost Adventures Pizza Hotel. I have to look it up to find out when it was because it sounds so familiar.
Fancy remote.
Ghost Adventures. I have the little doohickey.
Yeah, do that. Push to top.
2022, 2021. It looks like it was in 2021. So yeah, that would have been last year.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
And from the looks of it, it's only on Discovery Plus now, but I definitely remember watching it.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, well, anyway, that's what it says the recording was done. So I'm going to go with it was somewhere in 2021. But yeah, okay. So I'm going to open the floor for a few Q&As, and then we are going to have to say goodnight. Unfortunately, as much as I hate to say it because I really enjoy it, but I would love to have you back on the show.
Yeah, anytime. Yeah.
So we're going to open the floor to any Q&As real quick. Wendigo and Skinwalker as well.
I don't know.
Skinwalker,
You got
Wayne.
No. Not Skinwalker got stuff. Skinwalker doesn't have anything else.
Of course not.
Spoke it.
And falling off the bed. Well, you
Shut up. Mr. High Ego.
You and your
Yeah, I said that because we had gotten them a VR thing for their phone, and he
Uh-huh.
was doing one of the like apps on it, and
Uh,
like every like 10 minutes he was falling off the bed because he was like, ah.
Oh my Lord, sweet heavens! See,
It was
even
that's
we
great.
good.
are human. We may have a show, but even we do stupid things. You know, I tried VR. I don't
It
like
was
the
great.
VR.
It was great to watch. It was entertaining to see him falling on the floor quite a bit. And I'm like, dude, you know that's not real, right?
Now, have you seen anything about the second? Actually, I would say it was the third. The VR headset
The
for the
Oculus.
Meta.
The
Yeah,
Oculus
they
one?
have the Oculus. They have a second one coming out
Oh
that
no!
also does. It not only does VR, but it does AR. It actually has more cameras on the front.
Oh Lord!
Um,
Oh
so
god.
what I'm thinking about is I'm wondering if someone is eventually going to do some manipulation to that and use it as an investigative tool.
Ooh, now
Oh,
that
I'm
would be
sure they
cool.
probably would.
Like maybe
That'd
create an app for it. You could use that VR headset on an investigation.
See, my
That would be
problem with
creepy, but
VR, my problem with VR is it's kind of like running around with a blindfold on.
right?
I mean, think
I
about it.
mean, yeah, you could think about it that way. I mean, you got the image, and
Yeah, but
like
you
I
can't
said,
see
it's.
shit. You can't see your ass from your elbow with it on.
I know, and see, Skinwalker with his would walk around and stuff like he's walking through the.
Well, I've noticed some of those VR games you have to.
Well, the
Like
new
you
one
have to like
has
turn and stuff. It's weird.
the Oculus that I have. You set up your perimeter, and if you step outside the perimeter, the image that you're looking at goes away, and your camera comes on, so you can see your
It's like,
background.
hey, stupid, you walked out of the.
Yeah, you basically walk out of VR, basically. And the problem was where I lived before. I was just I rented a bedroom, and I didn't have any room to do my VR. And I was trying to play this game where I was swinging sword and trying to attack people, and I kept hitting my dresser. I knocked stuff off my shelf. I said, you know what? I got to stop playing this game until I have more room. And now I have a studio apartment, so I can try playing that game again.
You're like, yeah, I'm gonna try it, and I'm not gonna hit things this time. I'm sure
Hopefully,
whoever the roommates you had were like, what is that guy doing in there?
I know. It's like he's throwing stuff around his room and he's screaming, "Die, bastard, die!" No,
Right, right,
Like
and
he's
they're
having
like,
a bad day.
I'm sure people would be like, he's throwing things are hitting walls and stuff. He's saying die. Are we sure we still want him as a roommate? Like,
Oh God. Oh,
uh,
I love it. Okay, so VR, bad idea. Got
well,
it.
I
VR
mean,
in
it's a
small
good
rooms, bad
idea,
idea.
but in small areas, I think it's a bad idea.
it's
Yeah.
definitely a bad idea in small areas.
Alrighty. Well, I hate to say it, but we're gonna call it. Stick around though, Sean, so that I can set up the next interview with you real quick. And
Yeah,
we usually do a couple minute after show, and then we go. Thank you again, everybody, for joining us on Ladies of the Paranormal World. You've been talking with your host, Dark Angel, Drusilla, Skinwalker, and Wendigo, and our VVIP today, Sean. Thank you again for joining us, and
thank you. I had a lot of fun.
we will be back on Wednesday. Tomorrow is my hubby's birthday, so we don't do shows on birthdays. At least not in this family, on purpose. I almost booked one on my own birthday. That's why I said that.
Our website, Amazon, Furniture for Real life, messy life. Life is changes. I'm going to get together for meeting it. We like what batteries run down and get plugged up again. Because now, Love Stack Sactionals can